No, that was somebody else's, but I wasn't sure.
Good morning. This is the Wednesday, August 14th meeting of the Capital Improvement Committee. We have a couple of things on the agenda. Since there's nobody in the public, I guess we can waive the reading of the public notice. So in your packet, I sent you a revised master list of projects. I had reached out to all the department heads and others who submit projects for the capital list. I had some responses, biggest being fire and building. DPW had a couple changes. I know engineering, survey department put just a brief change. For the most part, most departments really didn't have anything to offer at this point, and I think I heard back from most.
Building, right though?
Yeah.
Building have a lot.
Building had a lot. This is strictly the list. I didn't highlight what's changed. I've informed the mayor that the committee was basically getting together to just go back through this one more time with updates and send it along to him and council. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at it or any discussion on it, but this is what I would anticipate we'd be sending off, unless you have other changes you want to make.
To be clear, we're not re-ranking anything, we're just okaying the list.
We're just sending a brand new list or revised list. We're not ranking it and we're not updating the report, it's just the list.
I love it.
Any discussion?
Do you want a motion?
Yeah, someone make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
A second.
Vote, all in favor?
Aye.
All in the negative? All right, so we'll send that along to the mayor. Second item on the agenda is, as we discussed, the update of rating projects to be placed on the report. Councilor Tyros had worked on a template. He sent that over to me, so that's in your package. I took it with his blessing and made some changes. I put both in so we can look. I added a little bit more information, mostly around the bottom block, which would just be cost and fiscal year, because we do look at a 5-year plan. So if you had one, say you wanted to get one 3 years out, you could get it in the list by inserting one. So this is just open for discussion. If you guys want to look at it, changes, additions, recommendations.
I like yours, Rob.
Yes,
No offense, right?
No,
the boxes are bright, it's darker, they're nice and darker.
right. Bold.
Hey, I have my quirks.
It's easier done when you have a nice template.
Yeah, no, George's was a great start. There's a couple of documents available from the state on capital planning. One of them has a form, so I actually, under project category, added some more categories.
Nice.
We can even, I know Dan was making a note, you can add to that, you can change it, we can do whatever we want, but I thought it was a good start. And then just the cost by year. I don't know if we should have like a project number associated with it for the record.
That makes sense.
Quick comment.
Mhm.
Most, if not all, the stuff coming from my department is grant related and grant funded.
You want to have a funding source?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we should actually, identify that on this form or not, but.
Well, my thought was, and I think we talked about it a little bit at the last meeting, was you're looking for a project, you're looking for it to get funded, you get it on the capital list. If the funding's there, it can get funded. If you get a grant fund, you can always remove it from the list. I think it's more important for me that it's on there. So if grant funding falls through the cracks, it's still something we know.
Yeah, it's not always 100% funded through the grant.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, there's a city match involved.
Is it worth asking on the template, are there grants available, or is grant funding possible?
Actually, that might be a good way to do it.
Yeah. I agree.
other thing, and I don't know if it should be read on this template, is I think the committee has to rank these. And so, I know we have, priority. I don't know if it's up to the person submitting the request to assign other categories of kind of ranking these. I think it's up to the committee. So I don't know if we have a separate template or form that we all kind of, rank these, but we don't have the criteria either.
I did run out of time. I was going to add the criteria for like what an emergency is, what critical is. Emergency was like,
Definitions.
yeah, definitions, exactly. Like threat to life or, critical might be damage to property. Some, there was, I just ran out of time. I was gonna add, that way whoever's submitting this can, it's not really a brain exercise, it's just a selection.
Mhm.
But to your point, is there like a policy document behind this that would lay out?
When we first did the capital improvement committee, when it first started out, there was, I'm gonna say 10 ratings that you, one had to do with safety, one had to do with, did it deal with the public, or, who did it impact, though? I can try to find that.
That might be better, yeah.
It got tedious because we were all doing that was why we got rid of it.
Yeah.
So we can talk about it.
It was almost too,
Every committee member had to go through and rate whether it was.
as a
safety.
scoring.
As a scoring.
Gotcha.
And it just got a
I
little
understand
tedious.
now. It does seem, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know I've seen a spreadsheet where people submitting check on the drop downs and it scores it. So the committee would just, I guess, be reviewing those for accuracy rather than doing all the scoring ourselves.
Maybe you have the department head of that particular project or piece of equipment go through that exercise, and then it'd be up to us to review it,
Yeah.
maybe, something.
Well, the difference between emergency, critical, and high,
I think they should
They're
draw
all-
3,
yeah,
like, just make it, there's an
high,
emergency.
medium, low,
is it-
or, yeah.
yeah. Do you need it today, do you need it in 2 years or 5 years?
Yeah, it's basically high,
Well,
medium, and low.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
George said he had definitions. I think that would be something that could be attached to this when it goes out. Send out a PDF to department heads and, here's the definitions of that. So, check them off accordingly, type thing. But, yeah, I mean, if we want to clean that up and,
I would get rid of location.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's a
that
fire
should
truck,
matter.
is it, it's just, I would try to make it as streamlined as possible.
yeah, I thought a little bit about that too, George. I mean, where do we start ranking based on ward?
It doesn't offend, yeah,
Yeah.
I put it on there, that way we can pull it out and see what fits, so,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I'd be in favor of getting rid of that, I guess.
let's get rid of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless we're going to use the data for some decision, there's no point in collecting.
Right.
Yep.
So,
Um,
and to your point about priority, the way we did it last cycle too, it almost seemed like we had like the departments ranked the priority too.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's something, because at one point is, all of them are
Yeah.
highs, and then that doesn't really help us make a decision.
Everything I submit would be high.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah,
Case in
and,
point.
and that's what I was kind of saying, you can have department heads or people submitting, do their own ranking based on, known scores, and then the committee would have to then kind of review that, because I know everybody's gonna rank them favorably for themselves, and you kind of have to wait through that.
So this gets down to, you could just put, when is it needed? Now, like Dane said, now, 2 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
If it's not needed for
So,
within the next 5 years.
say emergency, critical, or low, emergency, high, and low.
Yeah, just put behind it emergencies, needed yesterday, highs needed in the next year. I think the time is relevant, because it's not on the list unless it's a priority, right, so.
Then why not change it to priority as immediate, 2 years, 5 years?
Boom.
So
It works for me.
Say that again.
Immediate, 2 years, 5 years. Or whatever Dane said.
Immediate now,
And just, maybe instead of vehicle, change it to equipment.
Vehicle / equipment.
Yeah, just tricky.
So it's the DPW director.
With a lot of equipment.
Needs, a lot of equipment needs.
Who's gonna run them?
Um,
But if you
Robin,
ever get the contract.
oh, I must have forgotten, Project Type had a,
Yeah, I was wondering what we would, did you have definitions for
I
it?
did, and I never added them, so it mustn't have been important. I think it was, I was basing this off the Westboro template too, and they separated out category and type, and I don't remember the difference. I don't think it's necessary.
If you, yeah, I mean, if you had definitions where someone, because it's ambiguous. and
Right.
We've got a description, we can take that out too.
I'm pretty sure once we get a form together and then use it,
Yeah, we'll
it'll
know.
be changed after
Yeah,
the first
for
year,
sure.
the second year.
That was my thought.
More information added too. Since we're nitpicking, rather than having the project description and justification side by each, I'm just thinking for
To
one
cross,
above, one below, so you can just type it in,
I was gonna do that.
You're unbelievable.
just like Dave said.
I actually thought of it yesterday.
That's a
It's
weird.
almost like we work together.
Scary.
Share it,
Oh, my mind works like his.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good stab at this. I think I'll clean this up, I'll send it around to you guys if you see anything, let me know, but I think we can run with this. I don't know if we need to take a vote on it, because we don't really have a final product yet.
No, it's a form, no vote required.
And then I guess, George, if you want, you and I maybe kind of look at a rating system and how we go about doing that as a committee.
How do we want to look at, I'm gonna use Pearson and Elm. We have a intersection with lights, but you need a design to go, you need a design first and then the project costs later, construct. How do we wanna look at this any different? Because if you just put
You
$1
do-
million in there, it's gonna scare, but if you put 200,000 for design,
Well, that's
Yeah.
what you do down here, you put it into design and then
Right up
construction.
my ears.
but in this,
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Because when
yeah,
the auditor sees $1 million, he's gonna get scared, but if he sees $200,000 for design, like, is there a way we wanna approach that differently?
well, would you have 2 lines on the capital list? Construction 2026, I mean, design 2026, construction 2027.
Yeah.
Almost
Same,
like
same
under-
project, slightly different description.
Almost like under category where it says study design or,
Yeah,
Well, then just break that into the,
yeah, I think if we got one,
so it'll be 2
Template.
forms. You can submit for the study design for
they,
250 and then,
yeah, they could say, you could do it both ways, you could put it all on here, or you could do 2 separate forms, but I think it would then be the committee separating it into 2 line items.
okay,
I mean, from a finance look at it, it's like, okay, project's $1 million, what's that, it's worth 3 years, okay, first year's 250, okay, maybe free cash can fund that. All right, next is 500,000, is that a loan or maybe
Or a grant.
grants or something like that? So,
Yep.
yeah, divide it up, I think that's great. I think I would like to see it that way.
David, well, we're thinking,
So it's broken down on the bottom though, right? That's,
estimated cost by year.
Yeah, and I think if you had a project, rebuilding, replacing a bridge, and you have design or study, design, construction, you could do it all on your project form, but I think on the list, you kind of separate it, same project with, construction, design, and then separate by year. I just think it, for John.
Yep.
and
that's typically how I do it anyways, right?
Yeah, or if it's your office and you want to submit one form for each to make it, let the committee know, hey, we want this separate projects on the list. Either way.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's gonna be broken down the bottom anyways.
Right.
So,
but the committee and I shouldn't say the committee, the mayor and the council won't see that, they'll see that. So
So we'll see the breakdown, they'll see the big numbers.
I think if I'm the one preparing the list, I'm gonna take those individual things and list them separately in the list together, but in the description, I'll indicate whether it's design, construction, and then, because then they're together, you see them, the total cost is in there.
So they just see the total, the
Yeah.
one, the first
Yeah, each,
column?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's just a thought.
One last thought about the note you have on the bottom of your paper, Rob, about grant funding.
Yep.
Every now and then I look at Facebook and, why don't we get a grant for that? Everything. So, are we always gonna check that box? Because who knew there was money for a dog park? There's grant funding for everything.
Yeah,
and there's grant
Well,
funding
that
for
was
nothing.
that was a donation to school more than
No, it's a meadow mix.
that was more of a donation than a grant.
What's that?
What's the difference?
Yeah, but what,
Grant is-
my point is that
to me, it's
everyone
state
thinks
or
there's grant
federal.
funding for everything.
Yeah, and
Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. I don't know. Ours is not to figure out where the money comes from.
Mhm.
Ours is to say, here's the needed projects,
Well, yeah.
and then try to figure out.
this is true. Would you have a box saying, has grant funding been applied for?
Because I can, for the middle school roof, it's not emergency, but it's critical, a little above high. Is there grant funding? Maybe, if they fund it.
Right.
We've applied twice now.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to put that on there.
Like George said, it's, or Scott Graves said, it's superfluous information.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, maybe it's not for the committee, if the committee's ranking projects.
I'm not comparing you, Scott.
I wouldn't call it that, because if department head is ignoring a potential grant for whatever reason, the committee could, not recommend that project because, you really haven't done your due diligence in trying to get a grant for that project. And don't forget too, I think with the upcoming process, we want to sit down and talk with the people submitting these. So we can talk about grants. Did you check it off? You didn't check off grants, yeah, grants available, you looked into it.
I think it's a waste if you're gonna do it on a piece of paper that you're submitting, that 8 months to a year, that you might get funding, there might be a grant that comes available, one might disappear by the time you fill that piece of paper out. So I think might be a waste. At the time of purchasing the vehicle or the facility, that's when you would look for grants. I think that would be on.
And for me, the first thing you would look for is grants.
Yeah.
That's how you want to go funding. Grants, then you go down the line. Because if there's a grant, to me, that kind of jumps it highest priority because that's what you want, You don't want to put the money on the taxpayers. Well, directly, you know what I'm saying? That's grant. So to me,
But I think
the
that's
thing, I
why
don't care.
community development has a seat at the table. I think it's in the ordinance that the community development director is here, because that's where most of the grant funding comes from.
Yeah.
So he has his eyes on this, and, hey, you know what, there's a possibility for CDBG, or,
But the thing is like, I'm gonna use the city hall bathrooms. The city hall bathrooms have been on here for 12 years. If we filled out the form 12 years ago and said, yeah, I looked for grants, what difference does it make?
We figured out that it doesn't make or break what we're doing here.
Which leads me just hacking this thing. Is there a reason for justification that the committee would use versus description?
what is just, oh,
Yeah, does that kind of description and justification, we can do it all in one and just say, describe your project and, justify your
Yeah,
need.
justify the need, to Dane's point.
Yeah.
Like, if the form's not easy to fill out.
Yeah, we can just combine that all into one, just clean it up.
I was gonna say, yeah, you could just get rid of those headings, so describe the project and explain the priority.
Yeah.
And Rob, I just brought up Westboro's template, not that we have to use
Pretty
it
soon
all,
we'll
just
just
as
need
a
napkins
Yeah.
and
reference. They use project type as either asset replacement, new capital asset, or building expansion, building repair, like that sort of thing. So it's like one level click down from category.
Okay. Yeah,
It might be apparent in the description.
I was gonna say, the description's gonna cover mostly
So,
everything anyway.
Yeah, I think Westboro started with a good template, but we don't need to replicate it.
All right, so I'll combine that into one section, and we will not put a question about grant funding.
Should have a checkbox, is it for the children?
Well, I thought about taking this too and making it a fillable form to make it easier for everybody. So,
Yeah.
Oh, it, yeah,
yeah, I know you get the check boxes on
big
it,
check.
but I think I can make it, you know, put text boxes and stuff in that we can lock the form and.
We can talk about it later too, but if we made this an Access database where it just auto-populated your Excel sheet, that would be fancy.
Does anyone at this table, perhaps the person who brought it up, have that expertise?
We'll dive into that.
I've heard of that.
I've heard of Access, yeah.
I'm sure I could always get a team to assist with that. I have no,
Again, just to Dane's
that
earlier
would
point of.
make things super
Yeah,
easy.
the way we can do this without making the same mistakes of a decade ago when they had a template and they tried
Lost it,
it,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, it was too cumbersome.
Two covers. As department heads, is there sections that you would expect to be here that you don't see that you'd wanna provide, or?
I don't think so.
Alright,
Find out after year one.
we'll find out if you're one, that's right.
Okay. I don't think we have anything else on the agenda. You guys wanna wrap it up?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good work.
Sweet.